Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani with a special edition of Rudy's Common Sense. This is a document that you will not see anywhere at this point. If you want to view it with me as I'm discussing it with you, go to rudyscommonsense.com where it's posted. And the reason I'm doing it this way is because there will be every effort to censor, block, and stop you from hearing this information from the social media, from the Democrats, and tragically from most of your networks that have, for over 2 years, been covering up crimes at the highest levels of several governments. The one I'm going to talk about right now is at the highest levels of the United States and Ukrainian government. But in future days, you will see texts, emails, and photos that demonstrate crimes committed by the Biden crime family in China, probably most of all, Russia, and several other countries. But in seeing these, you're going to wonder, how was the money distributed? What happened to all these millions and millions and millions of dollars that went from the crookedest man in Ukraine to Hunter Biden, who at the time was not just a recovering crack addict, but a crack addict, actual crack addict, or the vast amount of money that went from China to Hunter Biden when he was also suffering from being I don't know how to describe it. It's unfortunate that he has this thing, but it's also unfortunate that his father put him in the positions he put him in. And China, of course, has all of the photos that we have, which means he is a really massive national security threat to the United States. Since his father lies about all of this, it's an easy area of extortion and should have been discovered by but not before the Trump administration, by the Obama-Biden administration. In fact, when you see these texts and when you see these photos, you're going to say to yourself, do we have a national security service? And if they don't have them, why don't they have them? Because we know that China and Russia has them, or they really wouldn't be much of a worthwhile adversary, would they? When you see these, what you're going to see in summary, and this is just a summary, are the following. Every time Joe Biden was named point man by Barack Obama, Joe Biden negotiated for the United States. Each time he negotiated, he failed. Each time he negotiated, the Biden crime family got millions of dollars from that country. In Iraq, which was the first one, his brother James, who for many, many years had been running an illegal lobbying operation in which money was going to James, and James was using it in part for James and in part for Joe. James got into the big time. James went ahead and got into a housing contract in Iraq when Joe was the point man in Iraq, approximately 1/3 of a $1.5 billion contract. Like Hunter, James had no experience at all in housing. He just got into a $1.5 billion contract. In Ukraine, as you know, Hunter Biden was hired by the crookedest man in Ukraine for approximately anywhere from $8 to $14 million. Some of it laundered, documents that show that. And question is, why did Joe Biden lie about it? The New York Post, in its front page, demonstrates with a text from Hunter Biden that Joe Biden was fully aware of Burisma and has been lying about that for 7 years. That's a lot of lying. That only happens when you commit a crime. And Joe Biden certainly committed a crime because some of that money from Ukraine, illegal money for bribes, went to Joe Biden. And finally, for now, China. China has so many different transactions. It's going to take a couple of days, if not a week, for us to sort all through them, but we have them. And basically, this is money that goes to Hunter Biden, James Biden, Sarah Biden, and the Biden family, otherwise known as the Biden crime family. Now, you're going to want to know, what is the scheme that they use for distributing the money? Well, there just so happens to be a text. The text is in the hard drive of Hunter Biden, and it is from Hunter Biden to Naomi Biden discussing money. But in it, he makes a very big mistake. He explains the distribution scheme that the Biden crime family has had for years. It reads as follows, and again, you can see it. You can see it on my website. It reads, this is from Hunter to Naomi Biden. I love you all, but I don't receive any respect, and that's fine, I guess. Works for you, apparently. I hope you all can do what I did and pay for everything for this entire family from 30 years or for 30 years. Why was he paying for everything for the family? Because he was getting the money and they were keeping it from Joe, so he wouldn't have to report it. But he paid, for example, his half-sister's entire college education. Paid for a lot more things. In fact, in his own words, he paid for everything. But then it goes on to say, because the boss, remember the Godfather, the boss has to wet his beak. The boss has got to get his money. The boss here is Pop. It's really hard, but don't worry. Unlike Pop, that's one of the names for Joe Biden, Democrat candidate for the United States presidency. I won't make you give me half your salary. Okay, left-wing press, what are you going to do with that? That's about as clear an admission of what I've been saying for 2 years as you can get. And here's what happened. Real simple. You can also see this. This is Iraq, Ukraine, Russia, and China. Iraq. 1/3 of a $1.5 billion housing contract to a man who knew nothing about housing when Joe was named point man by Obama. So half of that went to Joe. The other half he kept and also used for the rest of the Biden crime family. Next one, Ukraine. Well, we know Ukraine. The crookedest man in Ukraine hires Hunter Biden, at the time a guy suffering from extremely serious drug addiction, which we can prove. Don't want to have to prove it, but we can. No one would have hired him in the condition he was in. No one. He had been thrown out of the military. There's no way he would have been hired for $2, much less $8 million. Half that $8 million goes to Pop, the boss. The other half stays with Hunter, and he uses some of it to support the family where he was paying for everything. And then we get Russia. Russia's a bit of a mystery. We have a $3.5 million payment from the wife, then widow, of the mayor of Moscow, close associate of Putin. $3.5 million going to Hunter. You can be sure some of that got to Pop, the boss of the family. But remember, Joe Biden denied this in the debate with President Donald Trump. We still don't know what the $3.5 million was for. Believe me, if there was a good explanation, we would have heard it. And what good explanation could there be for getting $3.5 million from a good friend of Putin, for whom the Democrats, including Biden, tortured President Trump for 3.5 years of a phony, fraudulent, concocted investigation. And lo and behold, they're the ones getting money from Russia. Gosh, if that doesn't make you angry, if it doesn't get to your sense of justice and injustice, it does mine. And then finally, we got the payoff of all, China. China, as I said, too many transactions for me to summarize them. The $1.5 billion commitment to the private equity fund that was owned by Hunter Biden, John Kerry's stepson, and Whitey Bulger's nephew. I said Whitey Bulger's nephew. For those of you who don't know who Whitey Bulger was, he was one of the most notorious organized criminals of maybe the last 30 or 40 years. What is Hunter Biden doing in business with him? In fact, Hunter Biden has been in business with some of the biggest crooks in the world, including in China, Ukraine, and the United States. That's the Biden crime family. So we have that going to Hunter, half back to the boss, some of it used to pay for the family. And then we have just found numerous other transactions involving Hunter Biden that we are going through. One involves $1 million, another involves $10 million, and one of them involves all three of them. It involves the whole Biden crime family, unless we're missing a few. James, Hunter, Sarah, all get big money from China. You're going to see it in the text, not making it up. So, what does this all amount to? This all amounts to numerous federal crimes, the highest levels of our government, clearly should be prosecuted, been covered up for 2.5 years. The Justice Department, in the person of the United States Attorney in the Southern District of New York, had this evidence back in October, November 2019, or he had some of this evidence brought to him by a well-respected lawyer on behalf of 4 or 5 Ukrainians. He chose not to investigate it, but instead to open the phony investigations of a lot of people, including, I'm told, a phony investigation of me, which has never resulted in anything except to try to intimidate me. They don't. Also, I delivered these facts, or many of them, in an outline to the State Department in mid-2020, March 2020. Ignored, no one investigated. I delivered these facts at the request of the Attorney General to the United States Attorney in a district that I'm not allowed to identify. He's interviewed one witness, really a meaningless witness, and done nothing. And the hard drive at the core of this was delivered to the FBI at or about the same time. And the FBI has conducted zero investigation of it. Very, very similar to the way in which they buried the note from Brennan to Obama saying that basically the Russian collusion was a Hillary plot. And it was done to cover up her crimes with regard to her emails. Much as they covered that up for 4 years, they covered this up. So we got two problems here. We got a man running for the presidency of the United States who's a cold stone crook. Big-time crook. Multi-million-dollar crook with a whole family supporting it. And we got real problems inside our government. First of all these photos of Hunter Biden should be in the possession of our intelligence agencies because every single one of them can be used to extort Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and others. The Chinese have these photos. The Russians have these photos, and probably even friendly governments have them. Ready to extort the heck out of a guy who's easily extorted, Joe Biden. If the Obama administration didn't have these, then they were covering up for Joe Biden. Second, Obama kept appointing him point man. He kept getting millions for his family. Why did Obama never stop it? Actually, it was suspected and written in the newspapers. Why didn't Obama stop it? Or did he know about it? Not such a crazy question when you consider that there's a very similar scheme on the part of the Clintons to sell the office of Secretary of State. And finally, just how often has he lied and made a fool out of you? And just how bad is our media for having covered it up? And doesn't this have to be fixed? Of course it has to be fixed. Really, he doesn't deserve to be a candidate of the Democrat Party. The Democratic Party is better than Joe Biden, and it's better than Hillary Clinton, and it's better than the thieves who presently run it. Most Democrats are decent people, they're good people, they're honest people. I was a Democrat once, and I hate to say it this way because it's always used as a cliche, but some of my best friends are Democrats, and a lot more were, because a lot of them have gotten crazy on the subject of Donald Trump. And I'm going to tell you why this is covered up. Because there's a hatred that's gone abroad in this land. It's the hatred of Donald Trump. And you know who that hatred damages more than anything else? You. Person who has it. I've seen hatred right up close. And what it does is it blunts your conscience, it destroys your reason, and it makes you justify things that would otherwise be illegal and immoral in the name of, I'm saving the country. You're not saving the country. You're destroying this country. The truth saves this country. The truth is that Joe Biden is a crook, has been for years, and why are you so surprised? If a man starts off by plagiarizing in law school, cheats his way through law school, plagiarizes the first time he runs for president, is it possible he's a fundamentally dishonest man. Well, it turns out he is. Thank you very much. Please take this very seriously. Share it with your friends. Before you vote, everyone should listen to this and also go to rudyscommonsense.com and go through episodes, I believe it's 1, 2, 8, and then, it's 1 through 7 and 8 through 11. Listen to them. You don't have to rely on me. You can see the witnesses. You can see the documents. And what you can say to yourself is, no one from your government has ever interviewed any of these people. And before you can say they're not telling the truth, don't you have to interview them? I've been in this business a long time. And this is the biggest cover-up I've ever seen. And it's the biggest government scandal I've ever heard of. Thank you. We'll see you very soon.